Well, hello, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Our next trolley stop is here, and our next trolley stop is now. And boy, are we celebrating today. Welcome back to another all-new episode of the PR from the Heart Children's Book Spotlight Series. To be precise, we have reached the milestone that is episode number 150. That is the 150th trolley stop here at the Children's Book Spotlight Series here at PR from the Heart. My name is John Masiulionis, the manager of PR from the Heart and the host of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Thank you for spending some time with us here in our neighborhood, wherever you are and wherever you may be. Now, of course, every once in a while, you start to notice that we're not in our usual 2 squares on a screen settings. Thankfully, things are continuing to grow and to expand. And whenever we have some of the shining stars in the kidlit community come through San Diego, we come here to the North County Media Center in Vista, California, here in the San Diego area. And we are super excited because we go back to almost really where it all began. Nearly 4 years ago when we had our first episode of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. And someone who has been a proud supporter of PR from the Heart, who's been a dear friend and fellow neighbor here at PR from the Heart and the Children's Book Spotlight Series. And we've kind of made things a little bit more official over the years. We are super excited to be able to share not only one of the best Father's Day books ever written, but one of the most highly anticipated children's books of 2022. It is now available courtesy of our friends and neighbors at Simon Schuster Kids. We are super excited to be able to, as we have been sharing over the course of these past several weeks through PR from the Heart, the brand new release of Growing an Artist, the story of a landscaper and his son, that is now available. You can head on over to the official website of our featured guest here, who is joining us in studio at the North County Media Center, johnparraart.com. You can also, if Amazon is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, you can leave a 5-star review, as that is one of the many ways that you can pledge your support for John Parra, to let him know that he is doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, those who love great children's books. And I believe, John, and first of all, welcome to San Diego. It's good to finally do one of these things in person. And you are a history maker. You are breaking barriers here this week on the Children's Book Spotlight Series, because you are the first member of the Children's Book Spotlight Series 5-Timers Club.
5-Timers,
the
really?
5-Timers Club. Now, of course, if you know Saturday Night Live, they have their 5-Timers Club, and they get these cushy velvet robes. You get this beautiful blue shining star.
I love it. Thank you very much.
Yes, it's not a cushy velvet robe, but we do what we can here at PR from the Heart in the Children's Book Spotlight Series. I'm super excited because we've had the opportunities to do 4 of these interviews, and they've all been virtual. Cue Bette Midler here from a distance. They've been, you know, the 2 squares on a screen kind of thing. But now we have the opportunities to be able to connect and join our hearts together and share this wonderful message. So, of course, if you're already feeling this vibe, if you're saying, you know what, I'm really inspired to learn more about the bond between fathers and sons, we're going to be talking about that this week on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. The connection between nature, art, and creativity. We're going to be talking about that on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. We're going to be talking about how art and creativity helps our little ones to heal from trauma, even if they're just moving through a stressful day. We've been moving through some challenging times in our country over these past several weeks. So this is bringing some inspiration, some joy into your life or the life of your little one. Or if you feel that this needs to be shared with someone in need, we encourage you to subscribe to PR from the Heart's official YouTube channel and to share this very special trolley stop that is episode number 150 on the Children's Books Spotlight Series. John, I'm so excited for you, because you, for nearly 20 years, you've been illustrating children's books and doing such a wonderful and magnificent job with those. But eventually it comes time to share your story. And you've been doing that here in San Diego during your time here. You've been doing it in Los Angeles. You've been doing it all across the country and around the world. This moment is finally here for you. Has it finally sunk in that Growing an Artist is finally available and that you're sharing your story with the world?
Yeah, I mean, it feels really exciting right now to be able to share it finally, because I've been anticipating for so long. So I'm just really grateful that now it's out in the world and people are responding very positively to it. So that's the kind of the joy that I feel right now. Just very grateful and very joyful.
Take us through now, of course, for all of our listeners and viewers who have followed your work for some time, you have illustrated for New York Times bestselling author Susan Verde, Miranda Paul, Lisa Klein-Ransom. The list goes on and on. So you've been, like, this isn't your first rodeo, as the expression goes. No. But could you really take us back to where this all began? We always, of course, talk about the origin stories at the beginning of each Children's Book Spotlight Series episode. If those who are tuning in are learning about you for the first point in time, when did you really know that this particular story, your story, needed to be shared? Because it really is going back to your childhood.
Well, I mean, I think I had the idea for many years going back, and you know, I was working on other children's books. You know, also my agent was asking if I would be interested in writing a story. And I kept coming back to the story about my childhood also, and working for my father, who was a landscape contractor. But I wanted a story that I could share that everybody could identify with, who enjoyed the themes, that really liked the messages in the book. You know, it had to have a lot of heart in it as well, and something that was universal. So a few years ago, I got an opportunity, an offer to write and illustrate this book, and I didn't hesitate. I jumped at the chance, and I basically took all the lessons that I had learned over the past 20 years of working with other great authors, especially the authors, because this was the first time I was going to write. So I looked at and studied and looked at other people that I worked with over the years and how they wrote and how they made the books important and well written. And I tried to take all those lessons and hopefully did my best to write the best story that I could and present it in a way that everybody could enjoy. Because I was a little more comfortable with the art side, you know, to work on that as well, because I've been doing that for a long time. But the story, I really wanted to make sure, and of course, I work with editors at my publishers who were invaluable when I worked on this story to help me get through this. Yeah,
I'm really glad that, because really your time is now. And I'm just, again, super excited on so many different levels for you. Whenever you're moving through something new for the first time, whether it be you're starting a business for the first time, you're writing your first book, you could be becoming a father. There's many fathers all across the country and around the world leading into Father's Day. This is their first Father's Day, or they're almost ready to bring a little one into the world. So you can have your challenges, your difficulties, your obstacles, your problems, your stressors, your troubles, your worries, anxieties and fears. It's really part of the human experience. Again, you've been a part of the Kidlit community for 20 years now. Were there any challenges or difficulties that you really experienced when you knew that growing an artist was just a matter of the timing, what it looked like, etc. and so forth? Did you really have any challenges or difficulties, or was it more smooth sailing, because this is like a full circle moment for you in many respects, going back to your childhood?
Well, I mean, the only challenge was, you know, I was concerned at first that it was, you know, going to be too much about myself, you know, like it would be too personalized or something like that. But once I started writing and started seeing the themes come out and the story come out, almost right away, it just started flowing very naturally. I was really, I don't know, it was just like a really inspired time for me when I started. I wrote pages and pages, much more than I needed for the book. And, you know, thankfully, that all gets edited and rearranged and everything later. But I mean, just the initial concepts and ideas and heart of the book, I just wanted to make sure that there was something there worth sharing. And it just felt so natural when I worked on it. And it just came out very well, I felt, right from the get-go. And it was really sort of, it gave me a lot of confidence, you know, that I can do this, I can do this. I think that's how I felt. And from there, we just, you know, took one step at a time. And anytime you work on a project, you definitely have to kind of divide it up into small sections, because if you look at the whole picture, you're going to feel overwhelmed.
Yes.
So definitely, I always try to make sure you just look one step at a time and break everything down into, you know, sections and pieces.
You would get a kick out of this, because my grammar school art teacher by the name of Miss Schaffner growing up, she would say, "John, a little dab will do ya." And I had no idea what the heck she was talking about. But I think that
sounds
realistically
right.
makes a lot of sense, where it's like, if you're kind of looking at the full thing, like, oh my gosh, how's this book going to come to fruition, and how's it going to be, illustrated and promoted and written, and who's going to like it, and oh my gosh, you could really be all up in your head. But you took the dedicated steps, and one of the great things is that you've got a great team on your hands with Simon and Schuster. They obviously know what they're doing because they've been around for a long period of time as well, too, in the process. And thank you for your vulnerability as well, too, because, whenever you see someone who is an award-winning artist, a New York Times bestselling author, a parent, an educator could say, they've got it made in the shade. They've got it. It's easy breezy. It's rainbows and gumdrops. It's just like, you're like Gene Wilder and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Everything is just all coming up roses, so to speak. But it involves dedication. It involves hard work. And those are some of the themes that we're going to be talking about a little bit further in Growing an Artist before we dive into the pages of your brand new children's book. I love how this book is a love letter to your father, Del. And you really have a strong relationship with your father. He had his own landscaping company, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
To be able, before kind of diving into the pages of the book, could you really share with us a little bit more, since we're just upon the heels of Father's Day and we're celebrating dads and fatherhood. What did this mean to you, your relationship with your father, and knowing the fact that, this was going to be included in the book? It's not just the traditional children's book that talks about unconditional love. It's really the story of you and your father.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's universal themes, universal ideas, heartfelt story that I wanted to connect with, and I just sort of went with the template of where I grew up and my relationship with my father, which was a wonderful relationship. I love my father, and again, I worked for my father in landscape construction for many years, for 12 years exactly. And it wasn't easy work, it was hard work, but I learned a lot. It was really valuable to, what he did. His creativity was in plants, in gardening, in landscaping, in design, and I took those lessons and I took those ideas, and the fact that we also got to spend time together and have lunch together while we worked, it was really wonderful. It was just a wonderful experience. Again, hard work, but just a very fulfilling time, part of my life that I use those lessons to today. And if I owe obviously some degree of the success that I've had as an artist, it also has a lot to do with those roots of dedication and hard work and discipline and also creativity. That's a big one.
One of my favorite illustrations in your book is, and there's this beautiful passage where there's the quote, "When you do something you love and you get to be creative, you feel proud." And it's this father-son moment. And I know that when you were at the La Jolla Library during your time here in San Diego, like that quote kind of came to mind. But we're just almost ready now. We're fully ready to dive into the pages of John Parra's brand new children's book, Growing an Artist, the story of a landscaper and his son. It is now available, courtesy of our friends and neighbors at Simon & Schuster, Simon Kids. You can head on over to John's official website, johnparraart.com. You can head on over to Amazon if that is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing. You can leave a 5-star review for Growing an Artist, the story of a landscaper and his son, along with John's other many children's books that he's had the opportunities to illustrate, because, again, that is one of the many ways you can pledge your support for John, to let him know that he is a shining star and that he is doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and those who love great children's books. I think I might be the only person that I know that uses the expression, "we don't like to give away the whole kit and caboodle." I mean, it's kind of like an old school turn of the century kind of reference on it, but I'm an old soul. What can I say? For those who are learning about your book and wondering, what's it about? Can you give me a little bit of the story within the story, so to speak, without giving away the whole thing? Could you share with us a little, diving into the pages of Growing an Artist?
Well, I mean, basically, the story is, about a little boy who's really excited to spend the day with his father, who's a landscape contractor. And the little boy is special because he is an artist. He's a young artist, and he brings along his sketchbook with him. And so throughout the day, he's drawing different things and sketching what he sees during his time with his father at his work. And they meet with different clients in different places, and they go on some adventures. and you know, a few heartfelt conversations here and there, and then at the end there's this wonderful moment where he finds a way to be creative and help his father as well. And so they have this wonderful kind of coming together moment of this symbiotic sort of relationship where the son and the father are working together creatively to work in his father's business. Yeah.
The illustrations, John, I mean, knowing the fact that it's a little bit different, I'm just doing my part to kind of put myself in your shoes, so to speak. When you're illustrating someone else's book, you obviously, one of the things I really love about your work is that you really pay attention to your craft. You really care about perfecting your craft. You don't sit on your laurels, so to speak. This had to be a little bit different, knowing the fact that it's like you've got the author hat on and the illustrator hat on. Could you share with us kind of like what that creative process was, you know, putting together, writing the book, working on the editing of it, knowing the fact that this really, in many respects, this is your baby. This is like you're bringing a little one into the world with this book.
Well, I mean, the book was, you know, is similar to, in some respects, to the other books that I've worked on. I always start with the research. I start with doing my homework. I started doing the background. So right off the bat, even though, you know, it's based on my child and my life, I went back, I went through all my old photos. I wanted to find even the vehicles, the exact types of machinery that was used, the backgrounds set in a very specific location. And just everything about it, you know. So visually, I wanted to make sure. I even found my brother helped me find some of my dad's old landscape plans that I actually helped my dad with when I was working on it. So that I found some of my dad's old drawings, because my dad was also an amateur artist. So there are all sorts of things that you do when you research a book, and sometimes these things will end up influence you, or sometimes they end up in the book, or maybe not, or maybe they're just inspirations for you when you're working on the book. And so through all these ideas, you know, because all the stories, all the ideas were from memory, of course, and that's part of the written word, but the visuals, I just wanted to make sure that they were genuine and heartfelt, and really kind of represented what my time was working for my father. And you know, you choose color palettes and everything, like there's all sorts of details and checklists that I go through when I'm working on a book. But it was really a very moving project for me to work on. Yeah, for sure.
I thank you for sharing that as well too. One of my favorite passages is near the conclusion of the book, and it says, "A few weeks later, Papi, Javier, and I worked to plant the last shrubs. The plans I helped to draw are about to be real." Yeah. And that brings me to the point of, like, when you know that something is to be created. Your book talks a lot about creativity. Yeah. And there's times as children or as adults, we have a vision in our mind's eye. Right. And we sketch out the blueprints, so to speak. The blueprints can be in our heart, they can be in our mind. Eventually, you have to take those necessary action steps. Yeah. The importance of helping our little ones connect with their creativity. Could you expand upon that, especially right now? Because, you know, all it takes is one little one to hear from someone who bullies them, or maybe a teacher that doesn't see the inherent worth and value in a little one. All it takes is that one comment, "You're stupid, you're dumb," and that little one can be in a therapist's chair for 10 years kind of thing. Talk to us about the importance of helping little ones connect with their creativity, and how art is really a useful and supportive way to be able to help little ones really connect with their inherent worth and value and their gifts.
Right. I mean, and art, you know, art just to do art for the sake of art is not really what it's about. It's about what inspires you. What are you excited about? And from a very young age, I was really inspired by many different things. You know, sometimes it's my family. Sometimes they were landscape drawings that around my surroundings. Maybe it was a piece of music, or traveling, or going to a museum. I mean, there were all sorts of things that I was really interested and passionate about. And as a young person, I drew all of those things. So whatever you're interested in, and whatever you're thinking, you're passionate about, those are the things you should be drawing. Those are the things you should be working on, because that gives your drawings meaning and power. And even as an adult, that's what I use to work on books, to work on art. I want to find something something I care about. And I think when you find those things, this is this is when also a lot of the I don't know about healing, or it just, you feel better and you feel good, and that creativity also helps with problem solving.
That's true.
And you're able to kind of almost use it in other areas of your life, and you start thinking outside the box, and that helps you. Also, I think in life, I think it's a skill that you can have. You know, it's not about, you know, becoming even another artist. Just make it a part of your life, and you will feel better and think differently, and it'll be important to you.
This is where, you know, one of the things, we've talked about this on past Children's Book Spotlight series episodes, how children's books help our little ones to heal. And over the past several weeks, whether it be the unfortunate shooting that happened at the Tops grocery store in my hometown of Buffalo, New York, or just recently the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, and knowing the fact that there are little ones that are going through some of the most challenging times of their life, there is help, and there are resources of care that are out there through art, through helping little ones to connect with creativity. I may seem like a broken record when I mention this almost in every single Children's Book Spotlight series episode, but could you share with us a little bit, because again, you've been part of the Kid Lit community in different ways, now being an author and an illustrator. Talk to us, expand upon how you feel children's books are so vital in terms of not only the emotional development of our little ones, but really helping them to take their minds off of whatever it is that they may be going through. And maybe in many respects, they actually can help a little one heal.
I mean, a children's book can work in so many different ways. I mean, sometimes it's an escape from what you're maybe going through. Sometimes it just helps people identify, you know, when they're reading the character in the book. Maybe they see somebody in the book that's going through something, and they say, you know what, that sounds like what I'm going through, and this character made it, so I'm gonna make it. It could be you're just inspired about the artwork or the words that they're using, and maybe that inspiration leads you to be creative as well. I know I was really inspired by a lot of the art when I was young, in many of the children's books that I saw. So it could work in many different ways to heal. Also between parents and children, you know, because often it's the parent that's reading to the kids, and you know, that relationship is so important as well, and it makes you feel like you're not alone, you know, and that's really important to have that. And you're bonding over those moments, and in times like this, in times like what's going on, it just, you know, it's hard, but it's I think it helps to share the emotions, share our thoughts with each other, and sometimes the children's books can be a step in that direction to help people just share what they're going through.
John, you've shared vulnerably thus far. I'd like to share vulnerably. I know that there is times, and I'm going to be turning 41 years old, even though I'm an old soul. I've got a youthful heart and a youthful spirit. There has been times where I have moved through challenging days, and I have gone to your books, and your books, they're really this you know, Linus, if you remember Linus from the Peanuts, and the little blue blanket, right? And it's like when I see a John Parra children's book, I know that everything is going to be okay. And that's coming from that's coming from my inner child. That's coming from my 40-year-old adult self as well too. So I mean, I can only imagine the fact that, and this is why it's like, especially there's little ones out there, their mom or dad might be going through, you know, some sort of an emotional challenge. Their parents might be going through a divorce. There's children out there that feel that they are unloved and no one cares about them. And if this is where children's books are like that blanket of love, where the little one can just be like, you know what, all it takes is just that one shift. In the book A Course in Miracles, it talks about how a miracle is a shift in perspective from fear to love. And that's really what children's books can actually do. It's like, wow, like this is such a great book. So if it can flip the switch where if you're going through a bad day, it can, you know, shift that just like that. And that's one of the great things about children's books. It's one of the great things about growing an artist. The story of a landscaper and his son. We are beginning to wind down our time with our featured guest, John Parra. He is here in studio. Episode number 150, cue the Kool and the Gang celebration music in the back of your mind here as we are celebrating here at the North County Media Center here in Vista, California, episode number 150 of the PR from the Heart Children's Book Spotlight Series. You can head on over to John's official website, johnparraart.com. You can also head on over to amazon.com if that's your preferred online vehicle of your choosing. You can leave a 5-star review for Growing an Artist, the story of a landscaper and his son, in addition to any of the other many children's books that John has illustrated, such as Little Library's Big Heroes with Miranda Paul, Haywall by Susan Verde, and of course, The Power of Her Pen, the story of the groundbreaking journalist Ethel L. Payne by Elisa Klein Ransom. And of course, those are just some of the few books that John has written. There are so many other ones as well. But again, johnparraart.com and amazon.com as well. I really love as well, there's many things that I love about this book, is that there are, here in the Southern California area, we're going to be talking about that a little bit because you had the opportunities to spend some time here, being able to help little ones celebrate their Mexican culture and Mexican heritage. Again, there's just so many redeeming things that I can only imagine what you're feeling. This isn't just the traditional children's book. I can only imagine that there's, children, and not only in Southern California, but all around the world that's like, wow, like John gets me. He understands me. He's helping me connect more to my roots. Could you share with us what that is like for you and why it was important for you to be able to have that be one of the central themes in Growing an Artist?
Well, that's a big part of, why I do art, and a lot of the inspiration for my art is a lot of the Latino background that I have and my family, whether that's through Latino music or food or dress or costumes or traveling through Mexico or other Latino countries. And but definitely this was a part of my life growing up, and I wanted to make sure that was a part of the story as well. And I think we use, some Spanish language in the story. We use some Mexican food or Latino food shared throughout the story, which I love. I'm very inspired by Latino food. And so, I wanted to make sure, because I just feel like no matter where you come from in life, sometimes it's important that we can feel proud of who we are, and it doesn't matter where we come from, it's where we're going also. And to kind of keep those both in mind, that we can be inspired by these things and let that be a part of your journey, as it was mine. And I wanted to kind of honor that definitely in the book, and that was a big part of the story.
Being able to travel, and not just travel, but travel to your roots here in Southern California. Yeah. Being here in San Diego, being here in Los Angeles for the past 2 years, we were all confined to the 2 squares and a screen. That's what I call Zoom, 2 squares and a screen. And did you ever notice how the Brady Bunch got Zoom before everyone else did? Like, here's a story of a man named Brady, and it's, then here comes Mike and here comes Carol, and then pops up Alice out of nowhere, right? But being able to connect with children, parents, families, educators, really connecting with your roots. I know when you said, hey, John, let's work together, PR from the Heart, Growing an Artist, the story of a landscaper and his son. Again, this significance of this not just being a regular book and a regular tour. What has it been like for you to be able to, in many respects, return to your childhood while returning home at the same point in time?
It's absolutely wonderful. I haven't done a really major book tour and event here in the Southern California area for
20 years, I believe you said.
Well, I did something in Anaheim about 6 years ago, but this feels more like I'm coming home. Not just because of the book. It's also because I'm seeing more family, more friends coming out. I'm visiting a lot of the places that where I grew up and where I lived and where I haven't been for many years, 20 years, right? And that feels very special to me. And I think this is it felt like the right time with this book particularly. To share it, because it's sort of also based in this in Southern California, obviously, and the stories are all from here. So they were born here. This story was born in Southern California, and to be able to share it with friends and family and people that just want to come out and enjoy the books and hear the stories, it just really makes me feel great and grateful, you know.
That is so awesome. And again, you can actually connect with John's experience, his book tour in San Diego and Los Angeles, by staying connected to PR from the Heart on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as PR from the Heart's official YouTube channel. Special tip of the cap, a special thank you to the teams at KUSI News here in San Diego, to Fox 5 in San Diego, to ABC 7 in Los Angeles, and also to the team at Spectrum News 1 in Los Angeles. So you're able to see all of those interviews if you want to be able to see John. And I love your shirts. Every single time it's just like, this man rocks plaid like there's no tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen.
Ever since high school.
One of the ways in which we always like to begin to close out a children's book spotlight series episode is to provide some useful and supportive information, some tools for parents, for caregivers of little ones. One of my favorite passages of the book, one of my favorite quotes is, "You have a gift." And Mommy actually says that in the book. And I feel that it's important that we remind children, especially now it's graduation season. Many little ones are going to that next grader. They're going from, you know, preschool to kindergarten, or 8th grade to high school kind of thing. Or, you know, and even as adults, we can just be graduating into the next chapter of our lives. So what would be some words of encouragement that you would like to share with our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course our fellow shining stars who are parents, who are caregivers of little ones, that want to be able to remind their children that they have their gifts and their worth? What would be some of those things that you would like to share? Especially when it comes to art and creativity, and even spending time in nature as well, too.
Well, every presentation I do for school visits, I always acknowledge my parents for their support and their love. I mean, whether it's even just doing small things, like every birthday I would get markers and pens as an artist, because so just see what your kids are interested in, what they're passionate about, and I say support those things. I also tell, you know, kids, you know, let your teachers know. Sometimes it's really important to have a very inspiring teacher that really encourages you to do what you care about, and that makes a big difference. And also make good friends, you know, make sure you're around good people that also encourage you to do the right things, to pursue what you are good at, because sometimes a good friend is the one that's going to tell you, you know what, this is what you really should be doing. And so I think of those combinations of things, but it's up to you. I mean, you know, you really have to kind of put the work in and continue doing it, but it's a lot of fun and you can enjoy it, and it could be really wonderful and creative and an exciting part of your life. Whether it's your profession or whether it's just making it a part of your life. So. And thank you for sharing that as well too, John. The two ways, of course, as you well know, that we close out each children's book spotlight series episode, we like to give a little tip of the cap to one of our favorite neighbors, Mr. Rogers, of course, the host of the long-running children's television program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He's a big influence of ours here at PR from the Heart and the children's book spotlight series in different respects through the neighborhood, when he spoke at different college commencement speeches or talks across the country, most notably when he received his Lifetime Achievement Award at the Daytime Emmys shortly before he passed from stomach cancer. And he always kept the time, John, whether it be 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or a full minute. He encouraged us to remember those who helped love us into being. And that is his way of saying, remember those people who helped you grow, those people who were there along the way that helped to support you when you were first starting off as a little one, or stepping into your vocation or your career of your choosing, or just someone who was there for you when you really needed a friend, if that makes sense. So I know I've asked you this question, but specifically with regards to growing an artist, who are some of the people that you would like to publicly recognize here on this celebration? This is your celebration, John. Episode number 150 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Who has helped love you, John Parra, into being, especially to celebrate the release of Growing an Artist? I mean, I'd start with my parents. I mean, you know, for sure. They were one of the biggest influences in my life. My family, my brothers, my two brothers as well. My family now, my wife Maria, and my extended family, my granddaughter Sophie. Hi, Sophie. And my teachers. I have many wonderful teachers that I've had over the years that I would love to. Can I say a few names?
Sure, please do.
Frank Sardisco, who actually makes a cameo in the book, as well as Larry Carroll. and a number of others, Sandy Tellefson as well, Steve Love, and so many more that were just so inspiring to me and just kept pushing me to keep going and keep growing, is like you say, keep growing as an artist. And I think that's pretty much the perfect title for this book, because it really says everything there is about my growth as an artist. Yeah.
And then we've had this Genie Lamp. This is the first time that you're actually seeing my Genie Lamp in person. We have a little segment. This, of course, is a little tip of the cap to one of our favorite Disney animated classics here at PR From the Heart. We remember the Genie of the Lamp. We remember the late Robin Williams. We remember Aladdin. And, of course, this really reminds all of us that we help, that we have the abilities to bring our own dreams, desires, goals, visions to life and help other people do so in the process. So this is the little segment that, of course, we call 3 Wishes. I feel that it's important that we put these wishes out there for those in need, because we've been going, just over these past several weeks alone, we've been going through a lot. What would be 3 wishes that you would like to put out there for our planet and for the children as well too? What would those 3 wishes be? And then you can still also use a wish for yourself if you would like.
No, I don't. I'm just really grateful for everything I have. Honestly, I wish for more love in the world. I wish for more peace in the world. That we can all see that, you know what, we're not that different. We have way more in common than we do have differences. And I hope that's a starting point for moving forward in life, to bring more peace and love. And honestly, that's just what it boils down to. And hopefully we can find our own passions and creativity and things in ourselves that make us feel better. And so that's what I wish for. Yeah.
Those are beautiful wishes, and it's interesting because one of my favorite Broadway musicals I had the opportunities to see here in San Diego recently. And if you remember Rent, on my mug it says, "In daylights and sunsets, in midnights and cups of coffee, measure your life in love." And I think that that's what the world needs right now, is more love for we need more love for ourselves. We need more love for everyone, because we're doing our part to be able to make the world a better place, one story at a time. This has been a magical trolley stop. This has been such a celebration. Raise your hand if you have had fun on episode number 150 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. We see John's got his hands raised. I've got my hands raised. We see Jefferson has his hands raised here at the North County Media Center here in Vista, rocking the production here for us here today to start off the month of June here at PR From the Heart. And of course, 150 trolley stops. That's a lot. But there's more trolley stops to come. So if this message, John's message, his story, growing an artist, the story of a landscaper and his son, if this Children's Book Spotlight series episode has brightened your day, if it's lifted your spirits, if it's brought more love and joy and even healing into your heart, if you say anything, you know what, now I'm a part of the John Parra fan club. I love his artwork. If you feel that this message needs to be shared with someone in need, especially someone who can benefit from this message, to remember the importance of nature, art, and creativity, among so many other heartfelt messages, we encourage you, if you haven't had the chance to do so, to subscribe to PR From the Heart's official YouTube channel, and to share this very special trolley stop that has been episode number 150 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. While there are any of John's recent feature television interviews as part of his San Diego and Los Angeles book tour for Growing an Artist, the story of a landscaper and his son, you can also share those as well on your favorite social media platforms of your choosing. And yes, we even have a couple of Easter eggs in the description below if you want to see how John and I looked back in 2018 and see how we've grown, how the artists within us have grown along the way. There's 4 trolley stops previously. We've included the links below in the description so you can enjoy those and say, you guys really changed a lot since 2018. If you are a children's author and you would like for me to be able to, and to have us here at PR From the Heart, to be able to share your inspiring story, just as we did with John here today in studio, to share the release of your brand new children's book on a forthcoming edition of the Children's Book Spotlight series, because it is summer reading season, and sooner than we know it, it'll be the back to school season, and sooner than we know it, yes, it will be the holiday season. So we encourage you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course our fellow shining stars, if you are a children's author, to head on over to our official website at prfromtheheart.com. You can also connect with us via any of our social media platforms that you now see on screen. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at PR From The Heart. We've got, of course, 3 tips of the cap. 1 to one of our favorite neighbors. Of course, you remember him and you love him as the beloved Mr. McFeely. Of course, he was speedy delivery on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood for many, many, many decades. We know him and we love him here at PR From The Heart as David Newell. David and I have the opportunities to deliver new heartfelt reviews of the newest heartfelt children's books from the shining stars here in the kidlit community here at PR From The Heart. We're super excited because we're going to be sharing and reviewing Growing an Artist, the story of a landscaper and his son, John's brand new children's book, on the June edition of the Neighborly Reviews bookcast. So if you are a children's author and you would like for David and I to share and review your brand new heartfelt children's book on a forthcoming episode of the Neighborly Reviews bookcast, you know where to connect with us via our official website, prfromtheheart.com, and any of our social media platforms on screen. 1 tip of the cap to one of our favorite neighbors right here in San Diego, the very gifted Laura Kavanaugh, the host and executive producer of San Diego Living on CBS 8, the CW San Diego, the official home of Empowering Reads for Kids. That is the official television book review segment here at PR From The Heart. If you're a children's author and would like for Laura and I to share and review your brand new heartfelt children's book and share it with children, parents, families, educators, and those who love great children's books here in America's finest city, that is San Diego, California, on CBS 8, the CW San Diego, you know where to connect with us via our official website, prfromtheheart.com, and any of our social media platforms at PR From The Heart. And of course, a little tip of the cap to some of our favorite neighbors here in San Diego. We're very, very, very blessed to be able to give back to the San Diego community further through the Unity of El Cajon story time with Mr. John, presented by PR From The Heart. So, of course, if you would like for us to be able to share your brand new children's book when I am Mr. John, I'd have the abilities to be able to share your brand new children's book on a forthcoming episode of the Unity of El Cajon story time with Mr. John, presented by PR From The Heart. You know where to connect with us at prfromtheheart.com. And then also, lastly, we're super excited because we're going to be sharing Growing an Artist, to be able to share this. I'm very blessed for this, John. The next installment of the Storytime with Mr. John series at Glen Park in Encinitas, right here in San Diego. That's just around the corner as well, too. So you're going to be seeing more of Growing an Artist. You're going to be seeing more of John over the course of the coming weeks and months ahead. He is not going anywhere, I assure you, in the process. And of course, if you're a children's author and would love for us to be of service to you, to be able to help you create your own book and media tour in a city of your choosing this fall, leading into the back-to-school season and the holiday season, if you're interested in having us facilitate a featured television interview or television interviews for you as well. If you would like more information on our media coaching and mentoring program, you can schedule your courtesy discovery call by heading on over to prfromtheheart.com and let us see how we can be of service to you as we are approaching our 8-year anniversary. One final time, Growing an Artist. It is now available. One of the very best children's books of 2022 and one of the very best Father's Day gifts that you can give your little one or that you can give your dad. One of the best children's books that we've had the opportunities to share in our 8 years at PR From The Heart. You can head on over to John's official website. By the way, I also mentioned this. I should have mentioned this at the very beginning. We should be wearing those name tags, like the high school reunion, like my name is John M, your name is John P. You can head on over to John's official website. That is johnparraart.com. You can, of course, stay connected with him on social media to keep the conversation going post-Children's Book Spotlight Series. If you head on over to amazon.com, if that's your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, you can leave a 5-star review for Growing an Artist, the story of a landscaper and his son, and, of course, any of John's other beautifully illustrated children's books. That reminds him that he is doing wonderful and much-needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and those who love great children's books. We hear the trolley, and since you're here in San Diego, you've seen the trolley a couple of times. You know that when you hear the trolley, it's time to go. So we want to thank all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and our fellow Shining Stars for your continued support of PR From The Heart, for your continued support over these past near 4 years on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. It is such a blessing, an honor, and a privilege to be able to give back and be of service to you and to your little ones and the little one within you. This has been such a blast. Such a joy to be able to do this over these past nearly 4 years. We want to thank you for your continued support of children's illustrators and authors, such as John Parra, who again are doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and those who love great children's books. For your continued support of local libraries and children's and independent bookstores, truly the pillars of our community. And above all else, we want to thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world. One last tip of the cap to, of course, one of our favorite neighbors, Mr. Rogers. He reminded each and every day, he reminded all of us of our inherent worth and value. In his own private numerology, he always shared 143. He actually weighed 143 pounds for his entire natural adult life, nearly. That was his way of saying, and in his own private numerology, that I love you. 1 letter in I, 4 letters in love, and 3 letters in you. He reminded all of us that we're loved and we're special just the way that we are. Since John was very kind to join us in studio here at the North County Media Center here in Vista, here in the San Diego area, we are reminding all of you through PR from the Heart and the Children's Book Spotlight Series as we celebrate episode number 150, 243. There is 2 letters in we, 4 letters in love, and 3 letters in you. That is our reminder that we love you. We are reminding you that you are loved, that you are special, that you are whole, that you are healthy, that you are complete, that you are loved, and you are gifted even more than you realize. That we like you, we love you just the way that you are, because you are an artist and you are growing on the inside. And it's such a good feeling to be able to see that and to know that. So for John P., that is John Parra. For myself, John M., that is John Masiulionis. Thank you again for spending some quality time with us here in our neighborhood. Special thanks again to Jefferson and the great team at the North County Media Center here in Vista for facilitating this wonderful experience, this celebration. We're going to be heading on over, and we're going to be having some sparkling water, because of course this is a celebration here at 150 episodes of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. But again, we want to thank all of you for joining us here in our neighborhood. We hope that you have enjoyed episode number 150 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Goodbye for now.